What's up, guys? You're live with the Political Millennials. I'm Justin.
And I'm Lewis.
And we're just two regular guys talking about politics, as usual. So this week, we're going to cover mental health. Because last week we did guns. So this is mental health, because we're still kind of on that school shooting thing, because we've had another one since we recorded, of course. Not a surprise, but
yeah,
hey.
Not a surprise.
So we need to talk about everything that may contribute, and mental health is the thing that the gun supporters go to, saying that it's a mental health problem. So we'll cover that. We'll talk about that. We're trying to be fair, and if they think that's an issue, we'll cover it. And if it is, which of course mental health is a bad thing, then we can try to fix that too.
Yes.
There's no reason we can do one and not the other.
Yeah, and we don't want to, focus the mental health issue just down to, violent people with guns.
How about we let everybody be mentally healthy?
Yeah,
let everybody be stable genius, right?
Yes, yeah, let everybody get out their demons or things that they keep up. Anxiety and depression are two of the biggest mental diseases, in the United States, and I don't think people look at the severity of it or how it affects people, too much, too often. They're just kind of cast. I think they still have a negative tone towards it,
A couple things that come to mind when we talk about inner demons and things that happen in that sense are the celebrities. The two biggest ones I can think of is Chester Bennington, who most recently. Nobody would have expected that.
Yeah.
I think he had like an Instagram post like 2 days before where he was having fun with his kid and his wife playing some game. And then 2 days later, he's gone. And then the other biggest example I can think of is Robin Williams.
Yeah,
because that guy
he
seemed like a really happy dude. He was a comedian, so he's always laughing, always smiling. And then he just takes his own life.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not a big Linkin Park fan. Lewis is more so than me. But everybody's a Robin Williams fan.
Yeah, everybody liked Robin Williams.
So it's not something that doesn't happen. It's very, very common. I think we all probably know somebody with some kind of mental
health issue.
Yeah, I mean, not to say they're sick, but everybody's got something about them that they don't like or something that they're self-conscious about, and that's part of it. And
that's one of the points I kind of wanted to bring up is when we talk about mental health, I think all of us are guilty of still being stuck in the past of mental health being the crazies locked up in the asylums and being shocked to be treated, this and that.
Yeah.
We come from a huge background of being very violent and very exclusive from people who had mental diseases or from people who even had family members who were. You hear the old stories of, they keep him locked in the basement, or they didn't know he had this brother. It was like that at points in time because it was such a would it be a social unnorm or social?
Yeah, I mean it's considered taboo still.
Yeah.
I don't want to say taboo in like that kind of sense that it's just not something that people like to talk about or something that people like to admit is as common as it is.
Yeah.
The thing that I always think about is I know the progress. I guess we'll switch. I know progress can be made because being gay used to be a mental health. It was literally listed as a mental defect, being gay, and transgender the same.
Yeah.
And so there's progress to be made on what is and isn't mentally deficient in a brain or whatever, but it's not that uncommon. I think we do have the number that 1 in 5 or 1 in 6. We've seen a couple different numbers, but right around there, 20 to 25% of America has mental health issues. I would go on record to say I think that's like 90%.
Yeah.
Because there's always something that somebody is self-conscious about, and I think self-consciousness can be a mental defect because
anxiety,
that causes
definitely.
I know a lot of people with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that can set you off in being self-conscious or anything like that. Like if we just take the example of a mass shooter, if he's self-conscious and somebody makes fun of him and it sets him off, he's not mentally stable at that point. He could do anything.
Yeah.
Not to say that everybody
is at that point
susceptible, but
yeah, definitely. People deal with anxiety and just depression all the time. And it starts out as little bitty things, and that's, everybody has that. That's fine. Um, but sometimes it can spiral out of control, and those are the people with the disorders, the people whose body cannot regulate their hormones and keep those hormones at bay and in control. That's where it separates, someone like me, who can have anxiety about different stuff, or who can be self-conscious, in a large crowd. That's what separates me from somebody else that has a mental disorder, because my body can still regulate that kind of stuff and doesn't let it get too out of hand.
But you never know what your brain can take.
Exactly. And who knows? It may be inside every single one of us. Being different people may, like you said, you'd never know what a stranger is doing or thinking, and you could set them off with something so simple.
That's the thing about, and this is a little off topic, but not really, how you treat people. The biggest thing for me when I'm talking to people, or if I'm in front of somebody and being considerate, is I don't know what's in their brain. I don't know what they've gone through in life. I don't want to be that guy that makes it worse. I want to be that guy that's the escape. Not even just like somebody I know personally, but just, I will use race as an example because racism is still there. If a black guy who's been racially profiled his whole life, if I talk to him and I treat him like a normal human being, like everybody should, and I don't even acknowledge the fact that he's a different color, maybe I could be the escape from the racial profiling that he experiences all day, every day. And that creates a positive experience, and that creates a positive reinforcement for somebody not to be set off, because they're like, okay, there are still people that look at me as a human and not as a black boy. Especially down here in the South where it's a lot more prevalent.
Yeah, very true.
So when I think of stuff like this, when you talk to people, you have to take into consideration everybody goes through things that you don't know, you don't experience, and you can't understand. And that's not to say that you can't, make jokes with them and tease them, because, any joke can be taken offensively if it's in the wrong context. So, you can still be playful, but in a sense, you have to be careful. You don't know what somebody's gone through, and you don't want to be that person that makes it worse, because that's not helping. And anytime you're rude to somebody, or anytime you treat somebody in a negative way, you may be that factor that sets them off, or you could just be somebody that makes it worse and gets them closer to the brink, and we don't want that. So a lot of the issue could be just treat people better, and that would fix a lot of things. If people treat each other better, nobody's going to want to kill everybody because they're treated better.
It makes me think of the question, is racism itself, because a person of color or a person not of color is no different biologically in any way, shape, or form. Is racism itself a mental disorder?
No, I wouldn't say.
Because they make themselves believe something
that isn't
taught. True.
Racism's taught.
Yeah, but
whereas a mental disease or mental illness isn't taught. I
just think it's inherited, just like it.
I think it can be embedded, but I don't think it's embedded by the same way that anxiety or depression is. Depression is built in. Racism is put in from somewhere. Racism is a product of your family, your environment, just the world around you, how you grew up, and how people treated everybody that you saw, and you learned from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people that are inherently born to hate everybody else, and in that sense, I would say it's probably a defect, a mental disease or defect, or however you want to say it. But in the sense of just racism on its surface, I would say that's more of just a byproduct of evil in humans that we just naturally have.
I can't wait until us as a society, not only the United States but the entire world, can further technology and further science, so that we were able to look into the brain. We only know that we use 10% of our brain. The 10% that we do know of, do we even know what that 10% does? All the time. I mean, we know the sections of it.
The coolest thing I've seen recently on stuff like that is bionic arms and stuff. So this guy's got some stickers on his head that have the wires, for the mental, or I keep saying mental, for the brain scans and stuff like that. And he doesn't have a right arm, but he's got a machine that's connected to these wires in his brain, and the machine reads. He tries to pick his arm up,
Yeah.
and his brain sends that signal, and the machine reads that signal and is able to interpret it. So when it reads that signal again, it knows to lift the arm. It's just like programming. So in that sense, yeah. And in the other sense, if we can learn how to interpret these signals, can we learn how to make them? That's the step we're trying to take now.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than it sounds on its surface. There's a lot of jumbleness in there because the brain does so much stuff. But if we can get into somebody's brain with depression and see what signals the brain is sending to make them depressed, can we suppress them, reverse them, stuff like that? We know we have antidepressants and stuff, and that's mainly just for the chemicals that would offset it to naturally be released. But we're talking outside forces acting on those, and not something, you take the chemical and it releases dopamine, we'll just say for example, which is your happy drug inside your brain. So it releases that just so it can cancel the depression, but it doesn't fix it. It just cancels it for that amount of time. You take it again, keeps canceling.
It's just kind of like a cover up,
You're just postponing. Yeah. It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah. If you spilled something on the rug, you just put a towel over it just to kind of not see it for the night, and then clean it up in the morning. It's that kind of thing. You never really fix anything. It's like the engine light coming on in your car and you just ignore it.
We're not, or just ripping it out like my dad does. Just take the whole light out. We're not getting to the root of the problem. We're fixing the problem temporarily with chemicals, but we're not fixing the problem permanently.
But that brings me to another point, and I've always said this, and it goes for mental health, it'll go for gun reform, it'll go for health insurance. There's no money in preventative. There's only money in treating.
Yeah.
And that's why all the medicine that you get is that, let me punch the light out on the check engine light so that way I don't see it anymore. Something's still going on. It's just being covered up.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we as society have always been, we've been trained, or we've been taught to put these doctors on a huge pedestal, which rightfully so. They did their work to understand the human body. They got a degree. That's completely fine. But I think we put them on a pedestal too high, and I think doctors get lost in lost in their sauce, and they start prescribing out medicine, for money. It becomes a business at that point, and you want more products being pushed out. You definitely want more products being pushed out.
So I would say if you go to the medicine aisle, you're not going to see any preventative medicine, really.
Mm-hmm.
Even just down to, I just bought shampoo yesterday. I bought for dry scalp stuff.
Yeah.
Because I have a dry scalp. I didn't buy it because I wanted to prevent myself from getting dry scalp. I bought it because I already have it. You don't see medicine that says for prevention of hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
It's to stop your hemorrhoid that's already there. So that's not, you can't predict hemorrhoids, but in the sense of every product out there is a reversal of what's already happening instead of a prevention. The only prevention you see is vaccines.
But the preventions, I feel like a lot of it can come from your diet and what you eat and what you put in your body. I just think that the knowledge of that isn't available to people. I think we just overlook it.
Well, I used to be on the conspiracy theory of cancer has a cure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it now. I don't think that the science community could keep that under wraps, especially today in the technology we have in the Twitter and Facebook and all the leaks. We can't even keep an iPhone 10 under wraps, much less a cure for cancer. But I do believe that they don't care.
They don't care to make one.
Because they're making so much money. Chemotherapy is $1 trillion industry.
Even the nonprofits that are finding a cure for cancer, they are turning a fucking profit.
Yeah, Susan G. Komen, just look into that. That was a big scam based off of cancer, and it's still going around. There's still Susan G. Komen stuff all over the place.
It's one of the most popular ones.
She has nothing to do with cancer anymore. She just said, I'm done, and she's just making money on Susan G. Komen now, living off of the, quote, profit.
Yeah.
And so, you see a lot of advantage being taken towards mental health, where you see people exploiting it. It's sad, and it's not going to fix the issue. So you always wonder if X person doesn't care if there's a cure because they're making money on the fact that it is there.
It's
what happens when the person finds a cure and wants to get out with it? Are they going to suppress him? Are they going to accept it or deny it or say it's fake or say it's dangerous and block it and prevent it? It's kind of scary to think about.
I mean, that could already be happening somewhere else in the world. Like, the United States has a strict control of what goes on in the United States, and they could, block it from coming here.
Yeah.
Easily. Say it's not. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we pass and regulate isn't regulated a lot of other places, and vice versa.
They could tax the hell out of it and prevent it from being, cheap enough to buy.
Yeah.
I always look at like celebrities that end up having issues and then just disappearing. Those issues just go away. And I'm just like, how do they always... I feel like, and I don't have numbers to back this up, this is just from inference, I feel like the celebrity survival rate on cancer is a lot higher than everybody else's.
Oh, I'm sure.
Are they getting something we're not? That's the question. It's expensive, but they got the money. So, I don't have any examples. Like I said, that's just an inference that I've made. But, something to think about, if we have something that's making so much money because we're pumping out all this stuff, all of this produce, all of this service per se, and making a profit on it, why would we want to stop the problem from happening? Why does cigarette companies still pump out cigarettes? Because they don't care.
Yeah.
They just want money. They don't care about your health.
They didn't care so much that it was trendy to smoke. Like, you were considered an outsider if you didn't smoke.
And they targeted people that were susceptible to addiction.
And mental health. They targeted the poor. The one thing that I learned in my sociology class in college is that...
you actually learned something in college?
Yeah. That you see the liquor stores, you see all of those mostly around the... economically disadvantaged in town. They put it there for a reason. Those people their escape are those things.
Yeah. They
can't afford anything else, so maybe I don't even know how much. I haven't drank in an entire year, so I don't even know how much beer.
I haven't in 22 years.
$8 6-pack or $2.40 is their little escape for the night.
Yeah.
Cigarette companies.
And if you're depressed and you're telling me you won't spend $2.50.
Oh, yeah.
For the rest of the night be cured of that depression, you're lying.
Yeah.
So it works for one night.
It's temporary.
And I do believe in weed's a super, super good example because it does help with a lot of the stuff. It is a temporary fix. It's not permanent. But it does help. And then you've got alcohol. I think it's if you have a product that can suppress your problems, it's good. The only problem is you have a lot of people that abuse it.
You get dependent on
So if you could get the alcohol to a point where you're prescribing it, like weed, it would probably do some good.
Yeah.
I know somebody that does drink just enough to just suppress it. They don't drink enough to get drunk. They don't black out. They don't go party and go crazy and drink and drink and drink and drink. They just drink it, maybe a beer and a half, just enough to just calm your brain down. And it is a downer. So just enough to chill your brain out and not, and it does help. It helps them.
It was season 2 of Stranger Things. There was this really smart guy that they were talking to, and for the longest time I didn't understand why he did this, but it makes sense now. They were all thinking of a plan of how to, foil this plot, and he was like, okay, he poured 2 shots of vodka. And they're like, vodka? Why vodka? He said, it's a central nervous depressant. Let me think. And I never understood that. I didn't know what he meant by that, but I guess it'll help you, without getting drunk, like you said, it'll help you think a little bit.
Yeah, alcohol in a regulatory sense is very good for that. And I think that's what we need to use it for. Instead of having 24 packs and you just drink it all in one night, just get wasted, which, it's not going to go away because it's an enjoyable time for some people. If you could just get it to where, doctor says, look, you can drink this much per day or drink just enough to where you don't feel this anymore and you'll be fine. Yeah, there's health risks because it's liquor or because it's alcohol. There's health risks to every drug you take. So
it can definitely be beneficial. In France, they eat a lot of cheesy and bread like foods. Are the main ingredient in their meals, and they drink. They were doing a study of why they don't have a huge or a high rate of a high rate of heart disease. With all the fatty cheeses and breads that they eat. And it was actually because with every meal they drink a glass of red wine, and red wine acts as a oh man, I wish Tegan was here.
It breaks it down.
Pretty much, it makes your blood vessels larger.
Yeah.
It dilates them, so that way your blood moves through. This cheesy stuff that you're eating, it doesn't really affect you because the higher cholesterol is getting passed through there. I don't know the science of it. I'm not.
Yeah, every time I eat like a huge thing of chocolate, I just have a bite of celery and I'm good. Hey, you get strawberries with chocolate on them, they cancel each other out, all right?
But, alcohol can definitely be a good thing in moderation. Will we ever get to that? I don't think so.
No, they tried banning that.
Yeah, people like to be gluttonous when it comes to alcohol. They like to escape for. They think I guess they can escape more, but it just makes them more intelligible. Wait, no. How do you say it? Like you can't understand them.
Yeah, just. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
they know what you mean.
Sure.
But so you get to when you're talking about mental health in relation to the gun violence. I've always been the one to say, if they're willing to do that, they're mentally sick. Because I don't think any normal human being is willing to go in and shoot 17 kids and adults mixed, whatever. So I think that in and of itself is a mental illness, but I think that there's always something preemptively causing this as well. I don't think it's just he's mentally sick and he wants to shoot people. I think he's mentally sick and his escape in his mind is I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So there must have been something. He was a student. We're talking about the Florida shooting in this instance. He was a student. But I think that there was something else. We don't know. And in terms of the Sandy Hook shooting, we know that he was mentally sick. They did find that out. So there's a lot of things in relation to those that it does lead itself to say that mental health does play a part in this. So what? Obviously, the first step, and if you're a Republican, you're going to disagree, is get guns out of the hands of these mentally sick people. Yeah. If you disagree with that, then I just think there's something wrong with you, or you're in the NRA, one of the two. But there are mentally sick people that don't need guns, and right now, they're able to get them, and that's an issue. But if we can't do that, if we can't get guns out of their hands, let's just not let there be as much problem with mental health. So what solutions are there, you think? What role does the government play? Because obviously doctors play a role. They're not part of the government. They're technically, but not really part of the government. What legislation would you say would probably help this? Not necessarily in terms of guns, but just in helping mental illness, period.
Well, number one, if we damn had insurance, if everybody had insurance, Medicare.
Oh no, that's not possible.
Something that
health insurance for everybody. Who does that?
At least everybody could be screened and checked, and that would be my utopia. But I'm still hopeful that that'll happen. I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen because it honestly could.
Bernie 2020.
Bernie 2020. He's actually doing a town hall on economic disparity. I believe it's coming up here this week, maybe on Tuesday or Thursday. I'll have to check. But I would number one want all of the citizens to be able to go to the doctor. I mean, that's honestly where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
You can't check anybody for mental illness if they don't even have a doctor. So legislation, I'd pass something like Medicare for all, and have everyone have a required mental screening.
I think the legislation that fails mental health is we determine they're mentally sick, we throw them in a place with all the other people that are mentally sick, and that's where they go. And it's like, I don't really think that's going to help them.
It's the old way of thinking.
It's a out of sight, out of mind mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, but they're all over by themselves. We can't see it, so we're good. No, you're not. You have to fix it from the inside. So I think throwing them into a mental institute may be a good temporary fix, in the sense of they just did something drastic. We need to get them help. But I don't think the mental institutes themselves are a solution to mental health as a whole.
But Justin, they're not trying to solve the problem. They're just trying to
hide it,
to treat it. You know, I mean, not treat it. It's the don't do preventative, do end result. You know, get it going from there. And
well, you're not gonna fix it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought of another one when you were saying that prisons. You know, somebody does something wrong. They hurt somebody. They steal something. Obviously, they make bad decisions. You know. So are you telling me throwing this person in a room and throwing away the keys is the way to teach them? You know, we do that, and we get free labor out of them. We get cheap labor. You know, we don't. You know, private prisons get all this, but
so also another thing to look at is we throw people in solitary confinement all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff will mess you up.
Yeah, I can literally kill you.
Vsauce did a video on it. He trapped himself in one. I think it was 3 days.
That was the coolest video I've seen.
And just the 3 days, he literally lost his mind. He honestly, the light was on, he had a bed, he had stuff to keep him occupied, didn't work. He did push-ups, he did all that, didn't work. He was starting to lose his mind, and the doctors that were on site said that this is actually a risk of permanent brain damage. So we throw these people in solitary confinement, and the only thing they see is a hand through the door giving them food. And that's not enough. These humans need social interaction. Humans need to interact with other humans. If they don't get it, that is detrimental to their health. So throwing them in prison, all that does is make it more tribal. So now they can connect with those people, and they try to fit into a group in that jail so that they don't get hurt or killed or whatever, and then that turns them on each other, and then when they come out, they're just stuck in that mindset, and then it gains violence.
Yeah, it doesn't fix anything.
So I think the legislation to fix it would be, let's make our jails a little bit more treatment facilities than they are just a place to go, like an on-earth hell.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was a documentary I watched with, I believe his name is Michael Moore, and he's a comedian. He went to the other countries to show how they do different things, schools, prisons, everything. And their prisons were little villages on the outskirts of town where these people lived. They got their own house, it was like maybe about the size of my house, they lived in something like this. They worked, but it was like a rehab, it was as a mental rehab, and it was nice. It was in the country, it wasn't barbed wire and chain link fence.
And with all of these criminals, I don't think anybody's naturally a criminal. I don't think anybody is naturally going to just go to Walmart and steal something. Generally, they do it for a reason. Generally, you're going to go to Walmart and you're going to steal food for your kids, or you're going to steal something for somebody, or you're on the street and you need to eat and you're just starving. You just need some food. There's people that steal TVs to sell them, and there's natural crime like that, but I'm talking to its core, you're not stealing for no reason.
Yeah.
You're stealing for greed, or you're stealing for survival. So if you want to stop it, you fix where they, you get them out of that state of mind. You get them out of poverty. But they don't want that. They don't want you out of poverty, because then they make too much money off of you.
Yeah.
So that would be a mental health thing. I don't have the numbers, but I would reckon to consider that mental health deaths and mental health related problems happen more in poverty areas, because they don't have help. They don't have ways to help it. I know somebody personally that is suicidal, and they don't have the means to get help.
Yeah. And
that's scary, because any day could snap, and that's it.
Yeah, it definitely could, and you don't know if it could be a lot of people.
And all that needs help.
Exactly. Yeah, they just need somebody that's a counselor. But unfortunately, we don't have access to things like that. We did in schools, I guess, but once.
I don't know of any students in my school that talk to the counselor for that reason.
Actually,
I know they keep
I
it
do.
under. They don't. Yeah. They're not open with it, but word gets around in a school of 57, in a class of 57.
There was kids at school that talked to the counselors. I remember she was pretty popular. Everyone kind of liked
All
her.
the counselors are liked.
Yeah.
That should be. But and they don't get paid worth of shit either, of course.
Yeah.
But so I mean that's just stuff to think about as well in terms of mental health. I mean you got to fix the problem. With anything we talk about, it's not black and white. There's way more to it. That's why I honestly, I'm not an optimist, but I do have a little bit more faith in the government than most people, and I don't think they're not fixing it for neglect. I think they're not fixing it because it's not an easy thing to fix.
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of neglect going on in terms of they just don't give a shit because they make money and the corruption. But I do think that the real people in government that really do care.
Well, when life's good, you never look around. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the people that are running our country.
We need to elect people that are us.
Exactly.
The people we're electing, and whether you're a Trump supporter or not, you cannot disagree with me that Trump is not a normal person.
No.
He is a rich businessman that has never seen hard work in his life. So he's running for all these coal people, and he doesn't even know what that life is all about. So if we elect people that are in these situations, we elect small town people, elect people that have dealt with issues, they have more of a drive to fix it. And they actually see that it's an issue. You know, if you elect people that don't have health care, they're going to be like, okay, this is what probably needs to happen to get us health care. And they're going to care more to do it because their mom don't have it. Their son doesn't have health care.
You know, Paul Ryan, the multi-millionaire, he doesn't have to worry about getting sick. He doesn't have to worry about losing his job. You know, he doesn't have to worry about feeding his 3 kids as a single father or a single mother. You know, those problems don't exist to the people, and that's why they make the laws they do, because it's a side of life that they
just don't
have
understand.
never seen. Yeah, they
give
never
them the
will
benefit of the doubt. They just don't understand.
It's honestly ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. Like they don't even care to learn. You know, because their life is so good.
Because then that gives them another problem to deal with. They don't want to do that.
Exactly.
And mental health is another one. I mean, I'm all for Trump saying he's going to combat mental health. I hope he does something. I'm 100% for Trump if he does something good. I'm not a one-way guy. If he does something I like, I'll give him credit because he hasn't lately. But if he really does something about mental health, kudos. Please do.
The meetup between him and Kim Jong-un is not his work. I hate how people are giving him credit because he has not done anything. It was South Korea and North Korea that both decided on this. Like that.
Well, if it ends up being good, then whatever.
I mean, if he can close the deal, fine. But he's not the reason this was set up, and I hate how he posts that on Twitter.
But the biggest thing I can think of is the opioid crisis that he declared a state of emergency on and spent $33,000 on.
Yeah.
Like what? And we talked about that in the very first episode, I believe.
Yeah.
He spent like $33,000. Ooh, you know that's gonna fix an entire countrywide epidemic.
Yeah.
So mental health is an epidemic because if scientists say we'll go on the short side, 1 in 6 people have it. Well, damn, we got 367 million people. That's a lot of mental health problems. And
that's a lot of people on the brink.
Yeah,
you know,
and when there's a wide access to guns and a lot of people on the brink, somebody's going to go over it. Somebody's going to do something stupid.
And I think part of that, you know, more and more I hear, I really hear kind of both sides talking about this, putting the shooters on face, like, in the picture and making him, I want to say, quote unquote, a celebrity. You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's totally a celebrity.
You know, and other people that have thought of, man, I don't know anyone that's going to say I want to shoot people, but I'm sure they sit out there and they think like that.
Well,
and they just think my face is going to be on the news like that one day.
If you just take it just the way of being a celebrity, there's so many people that are attention hungry. They want to be noticed.
Yeah.
They can't go without attention. And there's some that are so bad that they'll do anything for it. Well, I'm going to turn on the news, and like I said last week, one is too many. But you see all these mass shootings. We can argue about how many there's been, but just in the example of one, I turn on the TV, I see that 17 kids got shot, and the only picture I'm seeing is his.
Yeah. I'm
like, holy shit, this is how I get famous.
Yeah.
And they're dead. They don't care why they're famous. They just want to be famous.
Yeah.
So that's another issue you can look at. And I've always had the issue of the way they report on these mass shootings. I still see his picture on Twitter. I saw a thing on Twitter that said, a report on how he's doing. Like,
Yeah, in
it
prison.
showed, oh, he's been silent, he was reading, but he requested a Bible. I don't give a shit, okay?
Like,
I don't want to see
know
his
why
face.
they put that story
I
out
don't
there.
want to see anything he's doing.
Shame on the person that put
And
that
I
out
did
there.
see a comment that said, oh, yeah, because he's on Twitter seeing that we're giving him attention. It's like, no, but the next one is.
Yeah.
The next shooter is like, hey, look how much they're reporting on his life.
Oh, what if they'll make a movie about me? You know?
Yeah.
Like, what if it's so bad they'll make a movie?
Well, they made a Columbine movie. That didn't help.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Well, they made a documentary, but it talked about the kids more than the victims.
Yeah.
Because they did it. So the thing about it is, I want the reports on these to be about the victims. And this one's been different in the sense that the victims have themselves put themselves in the news. The news didn't go to the victims and report. The victims forced the media to report it by being outspoken. It still didn't help because they're still talking about him. I mean, I couldn't escape the day that he went to trial and he was standing next to his lawyer, and I saw the video on that. Mm-hmm. I couldn't escape that video because I was trying. I don't care to see it. So there's a problem there, and the people that see that and want to be famous are gonna copy it.
Yeah,
you know, they're gonna say, "Hey, I wanna be on TV."
And that gets very dangerous, and this all relates to the mental disorder, because you have those people that are on the brink, like we said, and in our society, we have like a fetish with likes and retweets and favorites, and we like the attention we get on social media, and for some reason it is very, very important and almost I want to say self-reflecting of that individual. I feel like people take it that seriously, and where am I going with this? I'm trying to think. I just lost my train of thought.
I mean, you were gonna say that.
Oh, the whole society thing. They strive for the likes, they strive for the comments on Instagram. Whatever. These killers, the future ones, like you said, they're picturing how big their name is going to be. I think that mix of Generation X being obsessed with likes, retweets, and votes, and whatever it is that they do, goes hand in hand with the next killer wanting to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's always striving to be.
And a lot of people would say, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would they just kill people for that? Why can't they just do this or that? Well, they want the biggest splash.
We've always had notorious people back since Billy the Kid. Like way back in history.
Look at Ted Bundy.
Yeah,
that dude was huge.
We've had
Zodiac Killer. Like all the TV shows on Almost Got Away with It, Law and Order, CSI, all these criminals.
Right.
And I know that's not real stuff, but we put these people in the front of our culture.
Yeah.
And I've always said, I don't have a problem with violence in movies and all that, but the amount of violence in movies compared to the amount of nudity that's allowed in movies is astronomically offset. I think that boobs are totally way safer than violence. And these men, I'm not going to start blaming video games and movies and all that, but the culture does play a part.
Yeah.
And the more you idolize the violence in movies and all this, it's just going to make it a little bit easier for them to justify themselves. Even though some of them don't need it, but it's just one of those things that I don't know if, without having a massive culture change, I don't know how much better it can really get anytime soon. Other than just, getting people help that need it. But a lot of them won't go.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are just going to be too uncomfortable to do anything about it. I feel for it because a lot of people out there need help. Veterans, a lot of them suffer from PTSD. A lot of them have these mental disorders, these anxiety disorders, these depression disorders from, fighting for our country. Thank you for their service, that if they fought in a war, but then they come back here and they're fighting a war in their own heads, and not even the people who are supposed to take care of them, the government, really gives a shit, because it's not necessarily a thing that's always looked at as true. A lot of higher up people look at depression and anxiety as excuses, or they look at it as I don't want to say a figment, because it's starting to become more prevalent, but people still kind of say, just get over it,
Well, I was gonna say, not to completely switch, but you kind of led me into it on that. That's good chemistry, Lewis. See how it works?
Yeah.
The biggest thing I noticed as a kid, whenever I'm not mentally sick, that I don't think I am. I could be. But the biggest thing that caught me whenever I got older and I started thinking about parenting, and I don't want to be a parent any day, but the one thing I think that we do wrong as parents, as somebody that's not a parent, is the way we treat our kids in the sense of mental illness, mainly for fathers to sons.
Mm-hmm.
It's a masculine thing. Like, just get over it. Stop being a baby.
Yeah.
Stop whining about, oh, I don't look good, or I don't think I'm smart, or those are red flags.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't see those red flags as, oh, my kid's sick, and I refuse to believe it. I'm not going to get him any treatment because he's not sick. My kid's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not. And neither are you, and neither is anybody.
Like, that kid knows his body better than
Right. If the kid is giving red signs of illness, if he started breaking out all over his skin, you'd say, oh my gosh, my kid has a rash.
Yeah.
I need to get him help. I need to get some lotion or some ointment or something to help treat him. Or, oh, my kid's nose is swelling up when he went outside. Maybe he's allergic. Well, we do it for that. Why don't we do it for his brain? His brain is the most powerful thing in his body. He can do things with his brain that his body can't.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain is powerful. And if we show signs of our brain having a problem, that's not a weakness. That's just something that we need to address. And I know a first-hand account of somebody that neglected to get their kid help, that needed it. And they turned out to be, they're okay people. I don't see them being a shooter, but they could be so much better off in life if they had just gotten help. Mm-hmm. And autism's the leading thing of that. A lot of parents, they don't believe that their kids are autistic. My kid's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's not sick. And it's like a thing, like there's something wrong with them, but it's not. It's as we see statistically, a normal thing.
Yeah, it's very 1 in 6.
The more masculine a dad is about, oh, just get over it. I always go back to George Lopez. Did you watch that show?
Yeah, I love that show.
One of the episodes where Max kept peeing the bed.
Yeah.
And he was like, son, just stop. Just get over it.
Yeah.
Just stop doing that. And Angie's like, look, he might have a problem. He ended up having UTI. If he would have just been a single father, like, just get over it. Just stop doing that.
How long?
Be a man. Be a man. What could have happened? He could have gotten an infection. He could have gotten really, really sick. So even something like that, your natural instinct as a man is to be more manly, and that it's not healthy for kids that may be struggling with something.
It just shows us, like, as we talk, I always pick up on these standards we have in society that we always talk about. The manliness, the mental health. How we think of them as outsiders of society. Just anything that has to do with race or anything like that. We see these issues that we've been taught for years and years and years, and those have been taught for decades and decades, and they just appropriate themselves, and they're here in 2018. It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know much about the brain still, but I would have expected, if I were old enough 20 years ago to look forward and see, like, if I do it now, let's just say now, I expect in 20 years that we'll have a better grip of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think we don't have a better grip on it, but I don't think we're doing anything about it.
Yeah.
We know more, but what are we doing to change it,
Yeah.
There's organizations out there that are helping and doing good stuff, but the government's not supporting it. And it's just, I don't understand that. And
you would think, we always talk about the government's supposed to be for people, but they don't really help us out at all. It's more foreign affairs and what can make me money.
Well, they say, unemployment's this or that, and it's like, okay, yeah, but I don't think we've had a president come in and, other than like gay marriage legislation or legalize weed, we don't see an overall change in the culture or the way we are as a society. I don't think we've had a revolutionary president
The only
in
two
a
that
long time.
The only two that we had were both assassinated. Abraham Lincoln, he was the one that changed everything, and John F. Kennedy came in to change the entire United States.
And he was doing it for the betterment of the people.
For the better.
And even non-presidents like Martin Luther King.
He wanted to take out the banks. The Federal Reserve. He wanted to get that out of the United States, and he was completely, I don't even want to make a joke out of it. His head was blown off. They took him out because he was a real revolutionary. And like you said, Martin Luther King wanted to change the way it looked at people. Just this past year, 2017, there was articles that leaked about the FBI and the CIA being on the opposition of Martin Luther King. They wanted to spread stories about how he was an unfaithful man, which I guess technically weren't not true. They were true because he did have affairs on his wife, but they wanted to make that the forefront of his message. And
how ironic is that now, huh?
And they wanted people to stop looking at him as a good guy because he had an affair on his wife.
Yeah. So, it's one of those. You never really know. I don't know how to say this really. You never really know what progress is being made because you don't personally see it every day. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I would say it's a lot of people wouldn't know what progress because you, like I just said, you don't see it every day, and that would warrant a lot of people thinking that there's not a problem, as well as that the problem isn't being solved because they don't look into it.
It's hard because every sickness that we have is always a physical sickness. We can see a broken finger heal, or we can see I don't even know. Anything and everything. You can visually see it. But like you said, your brain,
even just being sick, you can feel yourself feel better.
Yeah.
You wake up, you're like, oh, I feel so much better.
Doctors all the time, like we were talking about earlier, they don't understand the full complexity of the brain, and sometimes they don't even have all the answers to things. Yeah. So as a patient, you sit there very confused because the people that you came to don't even know how to, don't even know what to give you, don't even know what you have because they can't understand it.
Right.
They just, I don't know. Like I said, hopefully the technology catches up and we're able to treat these people and get them help.
Yeah, I hope he's right. I hope Trump does something. I don't see it. Obama said he was going to do something, he didn't do anything. I don't remember Bush that well, but I'm sure he said it and he didn't do anything. So I don't have my faith, but we can hope.
Yeah, we can hope. I mean, all these Democrat senators, whether they're Justice Democrats or whether they're progressives, we need to 2018 the plan, flip the seats. We need to get as much blue as we can. We've seen a couple already go to blue that we never would have thought. Alabama just last year turned blue. I believe that Texas will turn blue.
Nah.
Justin isn't as hopeful, but we got some great candidates that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But I think, honestly, Ted Cruz is going down. Ted Cruz has had the smell in a shit diaper face for too long.
Not going to happen.
And I don't think he's going to be he's not going to be there much longer.
I don't know about that. I hope, but I'm not optimistic. So I guess on that sense, we could just transition into our new weekly thing where we pick a progressive candidate that we want to shout out.
Yeah, something progressive every week. Yeah.
I called dibs on this before we started because I wanted to. Beto O'Rourke from Texas. He obviously won the Democratic primary. Wasn't much of a contest.
Yeah, but a pretty big margin.
But if anyone's going to take him down, it's going to have to be him now.
Yeah.
And the thing about his candidacy I like is he's trying to go to all the major cities in Texas, especially, in our town we have 100,000. He's coming here. So I like that he's meeting with the people. I saw he's talking about how he's meeting with the deepest red places he can to connect with them.
Yeah.
Because isn't this all about learning the people you're working for?
Yes.
I think the problem that we have with a lot of politics is that they don't really listen to us.
That's why they campaign in their main states.
Right. You're gonna go to the swing states, obviously, as a president, but you're not gonna go. Hillary's not coming to Alabama.
No.
She's not campaigning in Alabama. Hillary knows that Alabama's long gone.
Yeah.
So
Well, actually, she may. I mean, well, she won't, but somebody may in the future.
yeah, because they're blue now. But I don't think in the sense of um, any kind of campaigning that I would see Ted Cruz coming to Dallas.
Could you see Ted Cruz at like USC, middle of LA?
No, I mean,
blue
that's
country.
what I'm saying. You're not going to see Ted Cruz come to the heart of Dallas, and maybe he will because of the population. But I don't think he'll go to the blue. Well, there's not really blue parts of Texas, but in the sense of you're not going to see them go to the opposite side. But Beto is going to the deepest red because he thinks that he has something to offer for them, and I think a lot of the deep red people that go red are red for progressive reasons. In the sense they don't like the corporate Democrats, they don't like the deep state, and I quote that in air quotes because I don't really think there is a deep state, but they don't think that there's any help for them on the left.
Yeah.
Whereas that's the whole point of the progressives is to come in and do something for the people they work for. Let's just say I was elected in Texas and I was running on legalizing weed, but we voted 70% to keep it illegal. I'd stop talking about it.
Yeah.
We decided we don't want it as a state.
My people didn't want it.
So that's what they want, and I work for them. If I go against them, they're gonna not elect me anymore.
No, that's crazy because 90% of Americans want gun control, and
it's nothing. That's another thing. Just if you look at it in the sense of my disappointment with the government is we have things that we, as a whole, want.
Yeah.
We want DACA to get their path to citizenship. Nothing happens. We want CHIP to stay funded. Nothing happens.
We want health insurance.
We want
money
gun control. Yeah, we want all these things, and it never happens. Why is a majority of the country want something and not get it in a democracy?
Because we're not a democracy.
We're a democratic republic, but
we elect these people, and those people
are supposed to speak for us.
Yeah, they run the world. They run their world how they want, and unfortunately, we're not a part of that plan. We've been in this trickle-down economy for decades and decades and decades, and it hasn't changed anything. The trickle-down doesn't work. When is the money going to start falling on
I did see Costco said they were going to start raising wages, but
Costco, the average Costco person makes $22 an hour.
Yeah, I think they're the exception.
On the floor. On the floor, yeah.
Because Walmart did it, and then they cut people, so it's like it balances out.
Slippery slope.
So I think Costco is the exception because I've heard a lot of good things about how they treat their employees.
Well, just like AT&T. AT&T got all these tax breaks, and they said, we're going to give $2,000 bonus to 100,000 of our employees. Well, they forgot to mention that they laid off like 10,000 of those employees. And, to save money.
Let's just put it this way. If you're one of those that believes in trickle-down economics, how much trust do you have in a company not to screw you over when you call them to your house to set up your cable? Now, why do you trust that same company to trickle all that back down?
Yeah.
If you don't trust them to install your cable correctly, if you call them and say they'll be there at 5, do you trust them to show up? No. So why do you trust them with millions of dollars to try to trickle it back down?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's not going to happen. So, in that sense, if you trust them for one thing and not the other, why do you trust them for the economics? Why do you trust them for that? I don't.
No. Definitely. We're like the land of corporations.
Yeah.
That's just what we're run by, and it's unfortunate. There was no such thing as corporations until about I think it was like 19, I want to say 50s or 60s. But they started making these corporations so powerful, and then they started putting money towards politics. And I just watched a really good documentary on gun control with Katie Couric, and it was very, very enlightening. It was actually pretty good. Fell asleep during the last part, but I'll have to finish that tonight.
So
I'm gonna pick mine. Progressive isn't a progressive singular.
Oh, you cop out.
Why? No, mine's gonna be a big shout out to Italy. They recently held their elections and pretty much voted every establishment person out. And they're from what
Did John Oliver win?
No. From what I'm understanding is that they are pretty much starting their government over and it's like a left populist group. And they're all just ordinary people. So much that they have leftist views that I've never even heard of. they have a it's like income equality for all, where if you aren't even working, you're making X amount of money to survive. Like their government is taking care of their people. Would I implement that here in the United States? I have no clue. I don't have any education. Yeah, I don't have any education on that. It's just something I never thought of before. But that's how left it is right now. So my shout out is to Italy. They're going to be under my microscope, and I want to see how this progresses. I want to see if it's a true progressive movement. Hopefully, with their separation from banks and government, their economies don't start to fail and things like that, because banks hold a lot of power. And it'll be interesting to see how a society, a new society, will act when these establishment characters aren't running them.
Yeah, I mean,
because we see them now, like Sweden, but we didn't see how it happened. And this is history in the making.
Well, maybe in 2020 we can experience it firsthand.
I mean, if it happens in the United States, I'm all for it. Bernie 2020, whoever wants to.
Garcia will Hoyt 2034.
2034, we got to mark down. I didn't set a timer for that.
Hey Siri, remind me. Dang, she came on. Shut up.
Well, that was a good way to end our show.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to us, like always, on this episode of Mental Health / Gun Reform Part 2
/ Progressive Ideals at the end.
Yeah, a lot of information, and that's what these podcasts are. They're meant to go off on tangents, to get out information, and just to have a conversation with you guys. We want to make you feel like you're a part of the conversation as well. Once again, if you have any comments or you have anything that you disagree with us about, anything that you want us to be enlightened by, leave a comment. Message us on Twitter, on Facebook. We'll leave the links in our in the video description.
Hey, hopefully, Trump News of the Week coming soon.
Trump News of the Week, yeah. It's another
Maybe,
segment we're going to start working on.
Hopefully soon, yeah. We'll have to look into that, but hopefully we'll have 2 shows a week for you then.
Yeah, hopefully, and
I'll put Lewis under the microscope since he can do 2 a week, and I can just not do anything.
Yeah, I mean we can. Yeah, it'll be all right. We'll start talking about Trump more and more. Big news of him, going to North Korea to meet.
Yeah.
So maybe we can have more news on that as it happens.
If we don't get nuked before.
Yeah.
This is going to be off subject, but before we end this, I just now thought, what if they're bringing him over so that he can get out of the States away from his button and then they can nuke us, and he doesn't have to nuke him back? What if that's their plan?
I went
that's
the
so
opposite
scary.
route, and I was talking to Tegan about this yesterday. What if they're sending him to North Korea to meet with Kim Jong-un, and they plan just to nuke them both there? Because the Russians are the ISP providers for all of North Korea. The Russians dictate what information North Korea wants to put out there. They actually dictate what they get to see. So who knows what information they have, or who knows what they've been filling in. They've hacked our elections. They've hacked other people's elections. They can call me crazy for thinking this, but this is my complete conspiracy theory. They're gonna end both of them there. And this goes super crazy. Here in the United States, people are going to be, the pro-Trumpers are going to be, oh my gosh, our president just got killed. The other half are going to be, oh my gosh, our president just got killed. Hell yes, like we hated Trump. And it's going to be civil war between everybody. We're all going to fight.
I mean, I called civil war in 2016, so I think there's a civil cultural war. I don't think there's a gun civil war, but I think it'll be a civil Cold War or something.
Civil Cold War.
Yeah.
I don't. It's scary that Russia just announced they have all these new nuclear weapons.
Oh, they're not new. They're just public now.
Yeah, they're just public.
But anyways, so that's a little tangent at the end there for you.
If this happens, we're documenting it in history.
Yeah.
Don't come after us, FBI. Fuck you. I'll edit that out.